It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
Que onda, vatos locos? It's your boy Dave in the 702. Coming back at you for that Monday night boxing recap known as the Shoe Shine. Joining me all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish, Drew Evo. Que pasa, homie?
Usyk.
Usyk. But if I was right, I think you picked big Tyson Fury though.
I did pick Fury,
but it was a great. Hey, yeah, I'm happy to hear you say. And it was a big night for the Ukrainians. Drew, it was an epic night because they made history. And sadly, if you watch the Top Rank card on the West Coast, the hometown favorites on Saturday night. You know, we're watching the Saudis, the Saudi card, which was tremendous. Riyadh season, and then later on Saturday night, if you're here on the West Coast, we saw the San Diego card brought to you by Top Rank, where wow, man, Navarrete going for his fourth title in a fourth division amongst a very short list of great Mexican fighters comes up short big time. Drew, not only does he lose, but Giovanni Santillan, a welterweight contender that I've been really enjoying watching his ascent, coming up as the latest great welterweight from Top Rank in front of his hometown crowd, gets sadly annihilated in one of the most brutal, violent fights that I've seen in 2024. I know you guys are probably going to say Usyk Fury was a fight of the year contender, and it was an amazing heavyweight fight, but wow, that savage beating. I don't know. I don't know why I like those kind of fights. I mean, if you like blood and violence, let me know here in the chat. Shout out to everybody joining us. Drew's got a special pound for pound list update. I'm excited to hear about that, Drew. Real quick, guys, if you're joining us and you're new to this verticals, consider, if you love the sweet science as much as Drew and I do, consider hitting that subscription button. The phone line is active today. Again, I'll repeat that later. The phone line is active. If you want to call in and be a participant, you can talk to Drew and I about your favorite fight of the weekend or your pound for pound list. Love to hear it from the audience.
Just don't put me to sleep.
Y'all heard that, man. Make sure you guys are excited. Bring that energy. We appreciate everybody who's watching us. All right, Drew, let's get into this boxing recap weekend. An epic Saturday that started off with a ton of upsets. I'll get to the upsets, but how did Usyk pull off the victory? He was a slight underdog, very slight underdog, right?
Yeah, this was actually some of the closest odds in a while for a heavyweight fight.
Very, very tight. I think it was a difference between plus 100, plus negative 100, or negative something like that. Either way you had it, either way you were going to bet on this card. This fight was actually looking to be... At the beginning of the fight, I was watching it with my wife. I'm like, wow, this is the best Tyson Fury I've seen in a really long time. And obviously, you guys seen the memes, how much of a good time he was having inside the ring. He looked pretty good and agile. He definitely still had his legs. And then the tides turned, Drew. I don't know how you guys scored it. Let me know in the chat how you guys scored it, because early on, I had a really hard time giving Usyk round 1 and 2, but I did annotate that those were swing rounds. Once round 8 happened, 8 through 12, oh man, I really thought Usyk Wow, he really turned the tides, and big time, Drew. There's a scorecard, by the way, the official scorecard, the way it was handed over to them. You see 112, 115 for Usyk. Obviously, the 2 points for that knockdown. 114, 113 in favor of Tyson Fury, and another very, very razor thin 113 to 114. That gives us the first undisputed heavyweight champ in 25 years. Shout out, JC.
And the first of the fourth belt era.
Man, good to see you guys back. I'm going to move this up a little bit here, the chat a little bit higher. The phone line is open. If you guys want to call in, I'll be checking on that phone line periodically. Shout out to JC. Shout out to Sin City Syndicate for joining us. Let everybody know we are live.
I look at this. I gave Usyk the first 2 rounds. I really thought they were I think Usyk was getting better, was connecting better. I think Usyk was catching him in the first 2 rounds. Fury came back and won that round clearly in my eyes. And then it it just went to 4 to the 8th and everything. Fury started taking over, and Fury went to the body. Fury started going forward and started nailing him, and he was hurting Usyk.
Mm-hmm.
No one's ever had Alexander Usyk the way Tyson Fury had. He actually had him done. And we were all I know everybody was thinking, going away seeing Usyk getting stopped and everything. I even thought Usyk was going to get stopped.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there, Drew. I was thinking, wow, this is Tyson Fury's night. He's going to stop Usyk, especially if he keeps going down to the body.
But then I looked at it, and I kind of started looking closely at what Usyk was doing. If anybody noticed, normally guys would back off. Stay backing off and everything to avoid the contact, right? So here's the thing. Usyk kept going forward to the onslaught. And then I'm looking, I'm like, okay, he's going forward instead of backwards. Only time I go backwards is to reset. And then I'm looking, I'm like, he's not trying to avoid it. He's trying. This is what Usyk was trying to do in those rounds. He kept moving forward because he was trying to find an opening in that onslaught. He's trying to time Fury's onslaught. Well, he could find an opening to counter Fury and get himself back in the fight. And that's what a fighter like Usyk does. I told people there is nobody in that division besides Usyk that can make major adjustments during a fight.
And I was waiting for that adjustment, Drew. I'm like, shit, if he don't make this adjustment by round 7, because the earlier rounds were so competitive, I circled them as being swing rounds. I'm like, he really needs to take over this fight. He finally got that sequence of events going around 8. And pretty much, I had 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all Usyk. Maybe give him 1 or 2, plus that knockdown. It's a razor-thin win, but a win nonetheless.
So, and the other thing that I'm looking at, when we get to round 8, at the end of round 7, Usyk, you could tell Usyk kind of figured out a way. He started coming alive a little bit, Usyk. Usyk finally figured out a way around that onslaught to stop Fury. And then Fury started backing off a little bit. You could tell. When Fury started backing off, Usyk figured it out. Usyk had to get his hand above Fury's hand when he threw that punch. Because if you look at it, with Fury having the longer reach, the longer arms, it will be a lot easier to think of a counter to Fury. And then after round 8, when it happened, the out of nowhere onslaught of Usyk happened. He waited for Fury to throw that over that straight right hand, and he just hit that overhand left, and it just cracked Fury across square in his chin, and he was dazed.
Oh man,
He was hurt, and then he
rocked.
just went.
He was rocked. By the way, shout out to Bushidoki, a new chatter in here. We appreciate you. He says, I was waiting for Fury to tire, and he kind of did at the end. Usyk's work rate is too much for these big guys, Drew. And now we finally know there isn't anyone that's important left to me in the heavyweight division. He says he's going to fight until he's 40 years old. We have the immediate rematch clause, Drew, and because it was such an exciting fight, I'm looking forward to the rematch. I don't honestly. I give Tyson Fury a good chance to win the rematch. To be honest,
he does have a better chance to win this rematch because he can go back to what he's done wrong,
what worked, and what worked for him, and go back to what worked.
I think, but here's the thing: Usyk, he's got to adjust to it. I'm going to favor Usyk in this rematch because if he found the ability to adjust to it, Fury's going to have to find an adjustment. And I look at it like this, as in, I think after this rematch, I think they both retire. And if there's not really nothing to accomplish with Usyk. He beat two of the best heavyweights in his era. He beat AJ Trice.
Mm-hmm.
He beat Fury. And I really look at it like this. For his age, he's out of his prime, but I'm going to say this right now. There is no active heavyweight that can beat Alexander Usyk, and they will not beat Alexander Usyk. Usyk is unbeatable. I don't think there's anybody in this division right now that beats Alexander Usyk because Alexander Usyk has that ability to adjust like that, to make an adjustment. And he's so defensive. There is a flaw in his defensive, but he hides it well, and he makes you try to go for that fall so he can catch you at something. And that's playing chess. That's not playing checkers. But I'm going to say this right now. This is a very close fight. And I gotta say this because, like, really, I'm hearing people saying that this wasn't a close fight. AJ did better than Fury. You guys are just Fury haters. You guys are letting your a biased opinion happen because I know the UK fans don't really like Fury that much. I know some fans don't like Fury that much, but you gotta expect some fat. You gotta be unbiased here. Fury had him done. Fury had a way closer fight than AJ, and Fury almost beat him. AJ did not come close to beating him. He lost 9-3 on both of those cards. And he was almost stopped too in the first fight. He had hit the same way as Fury. But here's the difference. Fury had him done. AJ wasn't even close to having him done. AJ is way out of his league. Fury is the only man that has the chance to beat Usyk. He is the closest man to Usyk. And AJ's not even there. So if we're going to say, oh, AJ's the best heavyweight, no, he's not. Fury still beats him. I think people are using their biased opinion, the beta male mentality to be hating on this dude and not praising him. That for giving an awesome fight. This was fight of the year so far. I had this 115 to 112. This was really close to me. They were a round apart. Just the knockdown, makes 12 and everything. But then they're complaining about the referee. I have no problem with the referee.
Yeah, he usually does a very good job, Drew, but they could have waved off the fight. But just like they could have waved off that Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney fight, they chose not to, making it more compelling for people paying that pay-per-view. I think that they did the right move. Waving it off right there when Tyson Fury got back in the fight.
This is undisputed.
Exactly.
This is undisputed. And then you're bitching about it, but you don't bitch about it any other time?
No, I wasn't bitching
because
about
it was
that.
Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury comes back. That's what he's known for doing. You push him down, he gets back up. I just really don't get that, you know. Instead of commending both of these guys that was willing to fight each other for undisputed, you tried to rep the other guy and everything. And that's what I don't like about it. And stop trying to hate on the motherfucker, man. Like, because you want a fanboy for AJ and everything, or you want to be a Fury hater, man, you can't be unbiased. If you can't be unbiased when you talk about certain shit, man, don't talk about it then. I had a dude say I had it 9-3. I'm sorry, you're being biased. You're a Fury
This fight
hater.
was a lot easier to score than that. I don't know how you come up with 9-3. Drew, I'd be remiss if I don't mention this. We finally got, after 25 years, an undisputed heavyweight champion. Now we can debate pound for pound because this year's been exciting. We've got a multiple of athletes that are undisputed in their weight division, including Canelo Alvarez, Inoue, Terrence Bud Crawford is still technically undisputed welterweight champion of the world. But this title, undisputed heavyweight champion, is only going to be around for 2 weeks, Drew. And yes, we're going to get a rematch. But the rematch is not going to be for undisputed. So even if Tyson Fury comes up victorious, it won't be for that because he's going to be stripped. I'm talking about Usyk is being stripped.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Like,
he had to agree.
Had the belt for 3 months.
Yeah, so
they got stripped.
The weird shit is he had he had to agree. Everyone on board had to agree that the IBF title had to be relinquished. Apparently, IBF says June 1st, they've got to they got to give up the title because they are going to give an opportunity for Daniel Dubois, someone that Usyk, remember he took that big shot by Dubois to the midsection, but Usyk beat him already, right? And Philip Hrgovic.
Usyk made him quit.
Philip Hrgovic are fighting for that IBF title. It's going to be vacated. So when we finally get around to seeing this rematch, it won't be for undisputed. And what I don't want to see is if Daniel Dubois comes up victorious, well, I guess he'll have the right to call for a rematch against Usyk, Drew. That's some pretty wild shit. A lot of people wrote off the career of Daniel Dubois.
I think he has to. I think they will automatically mandate Dubois to fight AJ.
That's what they want to do. They're still, you know what? Usyk says he's down to fight till he's 40. That gives him about 3 years. There's plenty of people. I'm going to give you who I want to see him fight. I want to see him fight Deontay Wilder. I want to see him fight Big Bang. Him. Yeah, but I still want to see it. I want to see him fight Big Bang Zhang. I'd like to see him fight Philip Hrgovic.
He beats him too.
Y'all going to call me crazy, but at the very end of Usyk's career, I want to see him fight the California kid, Richard Torres Jr.
He beats him
out of Fresno. The silver medalist. 10-0, 10 KOs.
It makes it look easy.
As athletic as the young kid. Let's talk about that big age gap, Drew. Almost the same size. He's only getting better. Yes, he clearly is not as good as a boxer as Usyk, but I'd like to see it. Maybe at the end of his career, and actually that puts Richard Torres Jr. on that trajectory with 10 current fights, 10 KOs, maybe in 24 months to 36 months, actually being ranked up there as a top 3 contender.
I look at it like this. I don't care how long he takes. I think he beats everybody still.
Oh man! All right, there was some exciting cards. Drew disappeared for a quick second here. Sin City Syndicate says Inoue is still his number 1. Well, I said it before. If Usyk won this past Saturday, I was going to award him to be number 1 on my pound for pound list. He's not going to have this accolade very long that he's undisputed heavyweight champ. Like I just mentioned, he's going to have to relinquish one of those belts, the IBF title. And then that kind of puts Inoue back at number 1, still being undisputed. Maybe I put Usyk at number 2. And Terrence Bud Crawford at number 3. Really, who cares? Canelo's still in my top 5. And when Drew comes back, we'll ask him about his current pound-for-pound list. But let me know in the chat. Those of you that are listening, do you automatically award the guy that was the cruiserweight undisputed champion? That's a big deal in itself. Yeah, cruiserweight champion and now heavyweight undisputed champion. Wow. You have to say he's pound for pound number one. If you don't, let me know who is your number one. Chicano Prophet says, screw the belts. All right, guys. Drew stepped away for a moment. I'm going to get a quick swig of water. Let me know if you guys want to call in. I'm checking the phone lines now. I do have the phone number up. 702-710-3627. Let's talk about a couple of these fights that were on this card. They absolutely had some significance. There was a slew of upsets earlier in the night. Frank Sanchez, who used to be, is a stablemate of Canelo Alvarez, trained by Eddie Reynoso from Cuba. I don't know how old Frank Sanchez is. A lot of the Cuban fighters have birth certificates that are fudged. Nobody saw this coming. But his name is it Gabriel? I want to make sure I pronounce his name. He has had some upsets already on Riyadh season. And for Frank Sanchez to take on somebody as dangerous on this, I give him credit. But wow, I didn't see Frank Sanchez getting his ass whooped. Drew, I just came back to this. I wanted to mention some of these fights earlier on the night of Riyadh season. Frank Sanchez, from Cuba, gets knocked out. Fuck, man. What a horrible, horrible night for him. How do I pronounce the guy's name? Gabriel. Gabriel destroys him, Drew. First upset of the night on Riyadh season. What were your thoughts on Frank Sanchez looking so bad?
I think him wearing a knee brace had to tell you something. But here's the thing. You fought with it still, that's your fault. You know, you can't make excuses. If they were to make any excuses, I think his team should have never let him fight if there was a problem with his knee, if he was having a knee brace on. But I think the money was there, and there was many opportunities. He had to make that money, so, probably should have never fought.
Yeah, he did have that brace. And Drew, I have to say, with this win, Agit Caballel, he made such a big statement, Drew. He's in the mix now. He's somebody that's just a fight away from being potentially in the mix for a championship opportunity.
He is the number 2 guy. He is actually this was an eliminator. That means he can actually fight for the number 1 spot now. And I think AJ's the number 1 in the number 1. And I'll be honest with you, don't put it past anybody. I think Caballel can cause AJ problems. He's just technically that good for his size.
He's a strong fellow too. Shout out to Adi Mehdi, who says Sanchez was not listening to Reynoso. It was frustrating. Yeah, absolutely. Any athlete that thinks they're above listening to their trainer or taking their trainer's advice when you need to make those adjustments, he made virtually 0 adjustments. I think I have an unofficial scorecard for that, and it didn't look pretty at all, man. That was just a waste there. Anyways, there was a better feel-good story, Drew, and this one is, you being Irish.
This isn't diet soda, okay, Sin? This is regular Coca-Cola.
Now, the regular Coke takes the bet.
Coca-Cola is a white can.
The sugar-free stuff and the fake sugar stuff just don't taste good, man. You got to go for the real Coke. Or even better, drink Mexican Coca-Cola, Drew. That's got the real cane sugar. If you can get a hold of some Mexican Coca-Cola. Guys, this one is a really good feel-good story because he was way underdog. 9-1 underdog. Shout out to anybody who put their money on Kasachi, who is Irish, Belfast, I think. And he went on to fight Cordina. And I always thought Cordina was an Italian from the UK. No, I think it turns out Kasachi is part Italian and Irish, but lives full-time in Ireland.
Cordina is actually Australian, living in Wales.
Oh, yeah. Joe Cordina's not living in the UK. He's Australian, but I think I read he was Maltese. I don't know why I always thought. But listen, this is the way it ended for the 130-pound champion. Cordina was making his second defense or third defense now of the 130-pound title, and it's done. He's done, Drew. He's talking about moving up to 135. Kasachi, a 9-1 underdog. Congratulations to him. I saw on Twitter on X today, he had a huge heroes parade in Ireland, Drew. They really did not think he was going to win this. So the night started off with a bunch of upsets. You had Frank Sanchez getting upset. Joe Cordina losing his title at 130 pounds. And why does that matter? Because Navarrete, who we're going to talk about later, Emmanuel Navarrete, he comes up short, Drew, but they didn't strip him of his title. They let him keep it. He's the 130-pound champion, too. He can easily come back down, which I think he should. We'll talk about that later. Navarrete looks way too slow. He is way too slow at 135. He is way too flabby. He's not very athletic anymore.
He has no power at 135.
Exactly. We'll get to that in just a moment. But now that you're back, Drew, we'll top off this Riyadh season. Give me your pound-for-pound list.
All right, let me get off this thing for a second so I can get my pound-for-pound list up. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Pound-for-pound list. So we're going to do it from 10 down. Number 10 is Ben Rodriguez. But we're going to put the honorable mention first. The honorable mention is Junta Nakatani.
Mm-hmm.
Could easily be number 10 on this list. But I'm going to get the Jesse Ben Rodriguez.
That's very nice of you.
Number 9, and people are going to wonder, Drew, why'd you do this? Nobody does this.
That ain't Ryan Garcia.
Jaleel Okataya is number 9, the 2-time IBF and Little Cruiserweight champion. Is number 9 on my list.
Hold up, Drew. I got to put you. I completely forgot to mention this. One of my favorite fights of the night. I thought Jai Opetaia at the end there was getting a big risk if we were going to see Brady's knock him out, come back. I was one of the few people on the roundtable last week to give him some credit that he would put up a hell of a fight. And look at these two, the former cruiserweight champion and the current cruiserweight champion. Now they fought twice. Jai Opetaia got his jaw broken in the first one. And here you see Jai Opetaia's in the hospital bed, Drew. This is like Mickey Ward. This is the current Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti situation. They see themselves in their second fight. They got to be good friends, man. This makes me feel good. Chicano Prophet says, Drew loves the cruiserweight. Does he love the cruiserweight division? A shout out to Brady's for putting on such a great, heroic, spirited comeback to try to win this fight at the end.
Number 8. To the newly crowned IBF lightweight champion, Vasyl Lomachenko, is back on the pound-for-pound list. Number 7, Teofimo Lopez.
Oh, y'all hear that?
A lot of us.
People thought you hated Teo.
His last fight.
If you've
I
been
thought he lost
watching,
his last fight too.
And by the way, he's fighting a Canadian. If you guys heard in the news, he is fighting a Canadian. I forget his name. It just came out and was official. Not somebody that I think even merits to be ranked top 10 by any of the organizations, but they say he's going to give Teo a tough fight. Teo obviously not able to pick up a big name. That doesn't bode well for him.
Yeah, so number 6, I will go with Arthur Beterbiev. Number 5, I'll go with Canelo Alvarez. Number 4, I would go with Dimitri Bivol.
Okay.
Number 3, I'll go with Inoue. Number 2, I'll go with Terrence Crawford. And number 1, I will go with the undisputed cruiserweight champion, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. He is the only man in history to be undisputed in cruiserweight and heavyweight in the full belt era. Actually, he's the only man to do it at all because they have a really undisputed cruiserweight and undisputed heavyweight champion. And the first and only man to be undisputed in the full belt era in heavyweight, Alexander the Tender Usyk. And I'm going to be honest with you guys right now. I'm going to say this right now. Alexander Usyk is an all-time great now. He is the greatest cruiserweight of all time. And he is the best heavyweight of this era, generation, whatever you want to call it. He is a top 10 all-time great now, Usyk. And if you don't agree with it, What else does he have to do?
If you don't agree with it, you can call 702-710-3627 and have it out with Drew. You can have a debate with Drew.
Look at it like this. He has the best resume in boxing. Alexander Usyk has the best resume in boxing. You cannot argue with this resume. You can't. Like, do I have to really? I can debate anybody with this resume, and I'll win it every time. Because who has a resume with Brady's, McGrath? I forgot that Russian guy's name is. Marco Huck? AJ Trice? Tyson Fury? Derek Chisora? Daya Dubois? Like, who can argue with that resume? And here's the funny part. Most of those guys, he beat them in their home country. He beat AJ in his home country.
You know, it's not bad, Drew. Taking into consideration that Usyk fought Porter, you guys know that, right? If you guys don't know that, Usyk fought Sean Porter of Las Vegas, a welterweight, as an amateur. That's fucking nuts. Excuse my language. Thank God we're not monetized yet. Yeah, he fought Sean Porter. That is nuts. Adi Mehdi says, are they potentially setting us up for Hrgovic versus Usyk? I'm not sure. You think Hrgovic gets past Dubois, Drew? Dubois has been looking kind of special lately again.
I'm actually gonna answer both his questions. I don't think Hrgovic get past Dubois. I think Dubois catches him and knocks him out. I'm picking Dubois to beat him. I'm actually gonna put some money on Daniel Dubois to beat Hrgovic. And number two, who does Usyk lose to? Nobody. No active heavyweight beats Alexander Usyk.
Even what started off looking like a bad night this Saturday for Usyk, not what I was expecting. Damn, he managed to pull it out. Drew Sin City Syndicate has a pretty good criticism. He says there's too many inactive fighters on your list fighting once per year. And I'm going to guess he's talking about Terrence Bud Crawford, who's just been fighting once a year.
But here's the thing. Who doesn't fight? There's a lot. There's mostly every fighter fights mostly once a year nowadays. And the ones that don't fight mostly once a year are just ones that normally lose a lot or just on that good notice. Like, guys just get too comfortable in fighting once a year, making that big paycheck now. And that's how it is. Like, let me just say something. No, he doesn't lose to Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is fucking washed up. He's a fat ass, out of shape motherfucker.
Is he coming back?
And Deontay Wilder, you see what Joseph Parker did to him, how he was able to take that right hand out. Usyk does it worse. Usyk may stop. I think Usyk stops Wilder.
Yeah, and I think Joseph Parker of the bunch, he's had the best resurgence, a former heavyweight champion himself. Andy Ruiz, a former heavyweight champion. Deontay Wilder. Those two latter guys, they're on the decline, but for some reason, Joseph Parker looks better than ever. And he's earning an opportunity maybe to get a shot against one of these top fighters again. I'd love to see him in the mix with any of those people.
But, like, people are going to ask why I don't have Devin Haney on the list. Devin Haney, even though he fought a Ryan Garcia that was juiced up and everything, dude couldn't defend a normal, simple left hook just to save his fucking life.
But that is a good, I was wondering where Devin Haney was on the list. And of course, guys, this is a big week. Let me just remind everybody, since you bring up Devin Haney, I'll do a quick update. You guys know that we were pretty vocal about the Ryan Garcia PED situation. May 22nd, Wednesday, is a big day because it's coming soon. We're already at Monday. On Wednesday, him and his legal team will be there to watch them open up the B sample. The B sample is essentially the second part of his A sample. It's the same piss test. They're going to open that on May 22nd to begin the laboratory testing. Now, do not believe that they are going to have results on May 22nd. They're just simply opening it up, and he has the right to be there to witness it. Even if he wants to, I believe he can witness the entire testing process. He can hire someone to watch. and they're not going to have results. If he pays for, I think, a speedy testing, maybe he can get results in 72 hours, which would mean 3 business days, maybe next Monday. We might know what's up with that B sample, but don't count on it, man. He's in no rush to figure this out.
And it's fucked up. And it's even more funnier when you got the Haney's making a joke out of this. Oh, it's about to come up and everything. They're making a joke out of it. But, making a joke out of it. But your son's always at stake here. Your son may not get his own back.
Drew, you know Ryan Garcia was in Saudi Arabia. He was getting all this attention from the young Saudis. He went to a soccer game. He was hanging out with Ronaldo and whatnot. But this one, it's crazy shit coming out this boy's mouth all the time. This one caught me for a surprise because he tweeted or he sent a message over to Clarissa Shields. Okay, and this is a better picture of Clarissa Shields. He said, if we had a baby, that baby would be superhuman. So is he shooting his shot now at Clarissa? He's shooting his shot at everybody, celebrity or not, man. But he's talking about making a super baby with Clarissa Shields. I think she responded to him and said, you need some help, Ryan.
Oh, no, Sonny Evers shot his shot with her, and she was actually going to give him a date if he could beat Bam. I'm
going to say that, wait, is Clarissa Shields in a relationship? I'm going to say that she was at least a little bit flattered.
I think she likes the white guys for some reason.
Well, Ryan Garcia, is he half? There you go, man. So everybody, next Monday, if I hear anything, we will do a quick update later on this week about that Ryan Garcia situation. Drew, it was a great pound for pound list. Regarding your pound for pound list, I think it's very easy to say that there with Inoue and Terrence Bud Crawford, we're going to see him fight in Los Angeles in just a few weeks this summer. An amazing card.
I'm going to get some heat for that list. Watch.
Well, put it down. Let's put it down in the community pages. I want to say this about Terrence Bud Crawford. He's been very inactive since he left Top Rank. Obviously, he's been trying to cash out, make the most money he can for fights like he did with Errol Spence, which took forever to get undisputed, and I'm happy we got that. But with Terrence Bud Crawford now moving up to 154, and we're going to talk about that move because it impacts a lot of welterweights, specifically one we just saw this weekend with the big upset in Norman. Drew, if he beats Madrimov and then gets a fight with Fundora, and Fundora said it, he is open to fighting Terrence Crawford. And I love that kid, Fundora. Fundora's not going to get that rematch with Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu's moving on. Tim Tszyu got an even bigger opportunity, an even more dangerous fight. Man, he's crazy. But Fundora is available to fight in December, Drew. Once that will be cleared to fight in December, that gives Terrence Bud Crawford plenty of time to not only fight once, but twice this year and end the year with 3 titles at 154 pounds. I'm going to have to move. If he fights Fundora, Terrence Bud Crawford, and beats Fundora and beats Madrimov, I got Terrence Crawford at number 1 pound for pound at the end of 2024 if he does those 2 fights and wins them.
Dave, I gotta say this. I'm not really, if you look at the Virgil Ortiz fight, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I don't think it's that dangerous of a fight as people think it is because Virgil hasn't really fought anybody.
He's fought nobody at 154, and he can't even come in at weight.
The best guy he's fought is Michael McKinston and Booker. Yeah,
and sadly, Drew, regarding Virgil Ortiz, I think he's a phenomenal boxer, athlete, and puncher. He has a high ceiling. He hasn't made 154 yet. Like both of those 2 appearances.
But he hasn't been able to make. He hasn't have any rounds either, and that's the thing. I think. Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now, Dave. Tim Tszyu knocks out Virgil Ortiz in 6 rounds, and I'm going to call that right now because here's the thing. He hasn't had the rounds. Tell you the truth, he hasn't fought many rounds since coming back from that weight defect or something. If we get in deep waters, I think the longer this fight lasts, the longer it benefits Tim Tszyu. But I think Tim Tszyu stops him inside 6. And it's not. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to put money on it. I'm going to go to DraftKings because I think I'm going to win some money. And I'm going to put Tim Tszyu beats Virgil Ortiz by knockout. And I know I'm gonna piss some people off, but I don't give a fuck because I piss people off for fun. And because if I get their attention, I get under the skin of a take and it means I'm doing my job.
Hey, Drew, legit question. Wile E. Coyote, shout out to Wile E. Coyote. He says, well, you should have defined pound for pound first. And that's a legitimate bold statement of you to make, because I think Drew and I have different opinions on what pound for pound requirements are. So go ahead, Drew. What are yours?
So here's my opinions on this. Boxers that are active, that are active right now, and with a career accomplishments and everything, I put career accomplishments as a big part of it, and resumes and everything. I put some on that too. Mm-hmm. And if you look at it, the strength of victories for each of their fights, and when these fights were done and everything, and accomplishments. Here's the thing. That's how pound for pound is to me. Like, if you look at it, and people are trying to say, I think I can, why is Tank not on your pound for pound list? The best fighter Tank has fought is actually Leo Santa Cruz. And Leo Santa Cruz was brought up from weight.
Yeah, he was brought up from what, featherweight?
And then, I see what Floyd Mayweather.
I'm cracking up. Well, I appreciate Floyd Mayweather. Mario Lopez is a frequent contributor too, guys, from the 3 knockdown rule.
I give Floyd first loss, man. I'm the one Irishman that Floyd lost to. Everything, man.
I think you answered Wile E. Coyote's pretty good. I do. I put accolades at the very top of my list. With that, I mean, how many championships at how many divisions have you won? And in Drew's top 5 list and mine as well, I mean, these champions have won multiple championships at multiple divisions. And something that's very important, often overlooked, is strength of resume. Like, you take Canelo Alvarez. Canelo has fought over 20 he has victories over 20 world champions. That says a lot. Yes, he's got a couple losses. He had some very close losses, close wins that probably could have gone in the other direction. But you look at the strength of the record of Canelo Alvarez, and it's no wonder he makes easy work of even guys in their peak like he just did of Jaime Munguia, because of that experience, that ring IQ that just is unmatched. Terrence Crawford also, accolades. He may not have the best resume, but he's been undisputed at 2 weight classes. Inoue, a champion in multiple divisions, undisputed as well. By the way, guys, speaking of Inoue, Drew, I mentioned it briefly, but last week, El Venado Lopez, who is a 126-pound champion with Top Rank out of Mexicali, he fought a lot of people we know that have been on this show. He is asking for that Inoue fight, man. If Inoue moves to featherweight, he says he'll give him the fight right away. I can see Inoue moving to featherweight by the end of the year. Can you guys in the chat see Inoue moving up to featherweight? Because he's got a title opportunity. He's undisputed now at 122 bantamweight. It's just moving up 4 pounds to fight somebody who's not very tall, but also very athletic. And man, Inoue wins a title at featherweight. He ends the year probably at pound for pound number 1.
I look at it like this. Here's my question, Phil, and this is the Ring Magazine. How in the fuck do you still got Errol Spence on your pound for pound list?
Who has Errol Spence?
How? Where's that guy that was on the round table that fucking works for Ring Magazine? He needs to fucking talk. He needs to fucking explain that, since he works for them. He needs to tell me their logic. How the fuck is Errol Spence still on that pound for pound list? Come on. I need some. Dave, the next time you're on that round table, you better ask him that. And you better tell him Philly Irish Drevo wants a good explanation why the fuck Errol Spence is on that pound for pound list still.
I missed it. Who has him on the pound for pound list?
Ring Magazine.
Oh, Ring Magazine. Ooh. No, he definitely. And you know what sucks too? Speaking of Errol
Mike
Spence,
Ellis
Errol
fucking
Spence is
Davis.
already ranked at 154, but he's coming off a big loss. Like, how do you get ranked at the top of the 154-pound division coming off a loss like that?
Mike, I mean, Dave, you need to go ask that Mike, whoever the fuck his name is, why the fuck Errol Spence is on that fucking pound
That would be the equivalent. Let's segue into top ranks card because we saw a lot of exciting prospects. We saw Fernando Ferros Vargas' son on that. We saw Charlie Sheehy from the Bay Area. Shout out to all my people in the Bay Area. We saw Torres Jr., Richard Torres Jr., the silver medalist, with dude, this basketball player turned boxer was giving him some work. He managed to knock that guy out. And then, of course, that co-main event is one of the bloodiest, most violent fights I've seen in 2024. And let's get on to that one first, Drew. Giovanni Santillan, he had some close calls earlier in his career. Specifically, I remember talking with Lukey Boxing about a fighter named Bonet that kind of exposed a lot of flaws in Santillan's game. And I saw those flaws come back this weekend in even a worse way because I really had never paid attention to this guy, Norman Jr. out of Atlanta. The only thing I had seen was that he got dropped by Boca Chico. Boca Chico was a guy, a Puerto Rican fighter, Drew, that was on Showbox. Boca Chico is a guy who knocked down Norman, who is now the WBO interim titleist. Let me get this off my chest. Boca Chico guys, go look him up. Boca Chico knocked out, supposedly, Teofimo Lopez in sparring. So if you see that video clip of Norman Jr., who just won this fight, he did get dropped by a guy who also dropped, reportedly, and there's video evidence of this, of knocking out Teofimo Lopez in sparring. So, I'm sorry, Drew, go ahead.
Seneca, are you fucking serious? You put Southpaw ahead of us? Are you high? No, I'm sorry. He put Philly as number 5 on that NFL pound for pound shit, but he put fucking Southpaw ahead of us?
Southpaw TV?
Yo, Syndicate, I'm kicking your ass the fuck out of chat. Somebody kick him out for a minute. Time him out for 1 second and while he thinks about what he done. And I want an apology when he comes back. I want a fucking apology when he comes back, Dave.
Let's talk about Norman Jr., Drew, because he beat the crap out of Giovanni Santillan. He now becomes the WBO interim titleist. We just saw Mario Barrios again defend his WBC interim title. They're called interim. What are they waiting for? These guys are going to be elevated to full champion, welterweight champions as soon as Bud Crawford fights next month. They're going to be legitimate champions. Norman Jr. comes out of nowhere, Drew. Most people are going to argue that your boy, Philly's Boots Ennis at welterweight, who's on the verge of selling out his first homecoming in Philadelphia, on the verge of selling it out against Crawley, that they're going to say he's at the top of the division, Drew. But Norman Jr., he shakes things up because now we just don't have now we've got some diversity up there, Drew. We could have a major showdown between two African-American East Coast fighters eventually. Norman says he wants, first he wants Mario Barrios. And I'm wondering, man, can Chicanos can we get revenge? I mean, Norman Jr. looked pretty spectacular this weekend.
I'm sorry. I don't think Barrios beats him. I don't think Barrios beats him. Like, I really think Barrios gets his ass kicked by this guy. Just tell you the truth, I was that close to putting a bet on him. I told people to put bet a Baranchek too. And everything. Because I didn't have that much faith in Navarrete. And what happened? I was right. And I didn't put no money on it. I should have put money on it, but I lost enough money that day.
Not only did he break Santillan's nose, and I want to give credit to Santillan because Santillan broke with a shattered nose. It was bleeding. There's blood cuts on both eyes, a savage whooping, and he kept coming forward, essentially probably from fatigue, walking into that one of the nastiest uppercuts that I've seen in a very long time. Norman Jr. looked spectacular, and And he did it in someone else's backyard, something that, reminds me of what Usyk, who is now undisputed heavyweight champion. Usyk went into everybody's backyard. He's literally fought in nothing but backyards his entire cruiserweight career, championship career, and his heavyweight career. Fights. He's a road dog. This guy, Norman Jr., is a road dog. 26-0, 20 KOs. Now the WBO welterweight champion. And he's looking at making something big happen for himself. Addy Medi brings up a very good point as Drew's taking a little break here. Why didn't Robert Garcia stop the fight? He's always criticizing trainers for not stopping it. What was it? Was it his son? That's a great point, because I honest to God thought that they could have stopped this fight as well. And then maybe the 6th round, there was way too much blood, way too many cuts. And Santillán wasn't really having any effect. His punches didn't seem to be having any effect when they'd fought in the pocket. It was a savage fight. And a tough one for him to lose at home, too, by the way, guys. At home in front of this crowd, the San Diego crowd, rallying behind him to follow him through that knockdown. This is actually not might not be the knockdown where he posed. And I kept saying, if you guys watch that after he knocked him down, then he poses with him. How savage that was. Chicano Prophet says, yeah, Santillán should have been spared that ending. A true warrior, a true Mexican-American warrior. But you're right, guys. He didn't need this unnecessary brutality on him. And I think, too, that Robert Garcia could have spared him. So, Giovanni Santillán's now 32 years old. I believe he's 31, maybe 32, maybe just 30. But nonetheless, for him to keep a career going after this, is he now, who could he fight? Obviously, he has to go back to the drawing board. There's going to be plenty of opportunities, but big paydays, that might be done. Yeah, it was cold-blooded. I would have liked to have seen Norman Jr. Give credit to the crowd in San Diego. Anytime somebody puts a beating on somebody like that in their backyard, I always appreciate it when a fighter says, hey, I want to thank the beautiful people of San Diego. Thank you for coming out, Giovanni. But he did say some very nice things, obviously, about Giovanni Santillán, and gave him credit about being a road dog, that he just kept a real dog and kept coming forward no matter what he was doing. Just wasn't enough. Something very interesting about Norman Jr. Thank you, Wally Coyote. Norman Jr., guys, if you didn't know, he's giving credit to Terrence Bud Crawford. We just talked about Terrence Bud Crawford on the pound-for-pound list. Apparently, he gave Terrence Crawford all he could give him in sparring, and he credits Terrence Crawford for that intense sparring he did to help him in preparation for this fight. He said that he got the confidence when he was working with Terrence Crawford, and the work Terrence Crawford gave him and what he gave back to Terrence Crawford, that gave him ultimately all the confidence he needed, that Santillán was just going to be a piece of cake. And it kind of came out that way. It kind of did at the very end. Where is my co-host, Drew Evo? Guys, I mentioned the son of Fernando Ferros Vargas. Now I believe he's 10-0. If you're following his career and the career of his sons, I believe Amado Vargas will be fighting on a boxing card that features 2 MMA fighters. Nate Diaz, I think, is on that card. Amado Vargas will be fighting Ryan Garcia's brother, so make sure you pay attention to that. That is really interesting. Nonetheless, he's not signed to Top Rank, man. The one that's signed to Top Rank, Drew, is the youngest son, Emiliano Vargas, who also came away with a knockdown. But Drew, speaking real quick of Emiliano Vargas, he looks good against the competition that they've been putting him in, which is essentially, we can be insulting, call them cab drivers, Uber drivers. But he's moved up in weight since making his debut at Top Rank. I feel like he was just fighting at featherweight. He now is growing into his body and finds himself in the 140-pound division, Drew. So everybody's got their eyes on 140 pounds. If you're the Top Rank matchmaker and they have some of the best, Drew, what do you do with the guy who's suddenly in the hottest division? You obviously don't want this guy to get exposed early, or maybe take an unnecessary step forward too quickly. And it happened with Xander Zayas. We see Xander Zayas will be finally fighting a former champion in Teixeira coming up very soon. Drew, what are your thoughts on the way Top Rank handles their prospects? Because it always seems to be like a showcase recently, like showcase fights.
I don't know, because I look at it like this. Top Rank does show, like, I would say for certain guys, the showcase fights, because there's I think they're work in progresses. I think they're not as skilled as the other prospects are. But I think the prospects that have a lot of skill, a lot of promise and everything, they're in actually entertaining fights and everything. But when you have like Nikolai Walsh, I don't think he's good at all. I don't think they try to work him up, but here's the thing. When you're doing it, you're at that point that, hey, we need to bump him up in competition because we need to find out what we have here. Like, we're building him off Ali's name. He's the grandson of Muhammad Ali. So we have to figure out a fighter that he can beat, but can give him some good rounds, can give him some good work and everything, can make him learn some stuff and everything. And it's really hard with those types of fighters because you can make an easy mistake and put him in there with someone that beats him. Like it happened with Nikolai Walsh already. He got into a draw and then he got beat, and now he's going to rematch the guy that beat him and everything. So, but a work in progress, let's say with Rich Torres. Rich Torres, to me, is somebody that should be a cruiserweight right now. That shouldn't be a heavyweight. I think he's not ready for heavyweight, full-blown heavyweight boxing yet. I think that he will be a champion in the cruiserweight division. I think he's not really ready, size-wise. I think he's too small for heavyweight right now. I think after a couple of years in boxing, in cruiserweight, let him build as a 200-pound fighter, let him win a title or something, then you move him up to heavyweight and everything. Because I think when he goes and faces some of these bigger and better heavyweights, he's going to struggle. That maniac style, like going in there just throwing punches and everything, it's not going to work for him because they're going to time him and they're going to punch him and they can knock him out. So they are really trying to figure out a way how to match him up with heavyweights to get him boost up in the rankings, but not put him at too much risk and everything. But like, I think he's better suited as a cruiserweight right now, Rich Torres, and I think his team should have put that to him. But I understand, hey, Rich Torres probably won't get noticed that much in the U.S. because cruiserweight boxing is not really in the best terms as it comes to U.S. boxing. It's more of an European division and everything. There's not really a lot of American cruiserweights right now in that division that we can talk about.
You could talk about Jake Paul. No, I'm just playing.
Who fucking cares about Jake Paul?
Well, let's talk about the main event, Drew. Top Rank Saturday night. Let's get to this one because obviously it was very disappointing. I love wearing a vaquero hat. Navarrete el Vaquero comes up big time short, moving up to he started his career, some say as low as 112. I don't know if that's correct, but he did win his first championship at bantamweight, 122. Now trying to move up to 135. He fights a Ukrainian team member of Usyk. After Usyk wins his heavyweight title, he has an Olympic teammate fighting Baranchek, and Baranchek pulls off the upset, Drew, in what I thought was a very, very boring fight, a very, very boring main event. Comes up victorious, barely. The question is now, Baranchek has a friend on that Olympic team, who some say might be the best 135 pounder there is. Maybe you guys have Shakur Stevenson. Maybe you have Gervonta Tank Davis. But there's only one thing I would have liked to do if I was champion, and that's unified titles. So, Drew, congratulations to Baranchek, who put the kibosh on Navarrete becoming a 4-division world titleist. Navarrete doesn't get to make that elusive Mexican list of people who have won championships in 4 divisions. Baranchek picks up a title. I mentioned his Olympic teammates, Drew. You have Alexander Zvodzik, the guy that's fighting, the guy that is fighting next month. What's his name? David Benavidez. He's already a former world champion. Those 4 guys are world champions now. You got Lomachenko, Usyk, Zvodzik, who was the light heavyweight champion when he beat Adonis Stevenson. He took his title. He's a former world champion. And now you have Baranchek. All 4 teammates, world champions, man. So that's kind of a historic and also that they made.
He wants to fight Keyshawn Davis. He wants to fight Shakur Stevenson. I look at it like this. I think he can beat Keyshawn Davis.
Yeah. I don't think he's fast enough.
I'm sorry. I don't think, like, here's the thing. He may not be fast enough, but what beats speed?
Timing.
Thank you.
And also, shout out to Adi Mehdi, who also mentioned these are the people on his hit list. He's talking with Keyshawn Davis, talking Raymond Murataya, who's looking like an absolute beast in the ring lately. These are some great fighters. What about El Camarón Zepeda? El Zepeda's going to be fighting. Nobody wants to fight him.
Here's the thing. I think he's eventually is going to become Shakur's mandatory. But I look at it like this. Let's talk about Navarrete right now. Navarrete just has lazy habits and everything. Like when it comes to training and everything, or his dieting. Like,
yeah, I've heard he'd be killing them tacos. He'd be killing them tacos.
Yeah, man. But like, here's the thing. The power did not come up. Like, he's too flat in this division. He has no power in this division. He has no business being at 135. And the problem is, he can't make 130 anymore. And I was talking to Chicago about this. And he suggests that they need a major overhaul in Navarrete. You know, like trainers and everything, like workout regimens, like
strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, strategies and everything. Something that can at least get his power back and that acclimated to this division. Something that can make him more movable and everything. And like Navarrete doesn't stand a chance in this division. And he can't make 130 anymore. Like, what else is he gonna do?
Well, he did mention he is considering he thinks he could make noise at 135, but he also says that he's open to going back and defending his title. So he's going to have to make a decision rather quickly because they're not going to give him all the time in the world to decide whether he's going to defend that title. They just brought it up in the here in the chat. Addy, thank you very much. I did read that Giovanni Cabrera will be fighting El Camarón. William Zepeda, who I just saw. William Zepeda just destroyed the shit out of Maxie Hughes. I was at that Cosmopolitan fight. Who do I have in it? Man, Giovanni Cabrera can scrap. He definitely is going to give El Camarón a good fight. But with that high output, El Camarón is steamrolling people. It's just too much to handle. He has exceptional cardio, exceptional stamina to throw, and he just wears people down. I do believe he'll wear down Giovanni Cabrera, but Giovanni Cabrera, he's no bum, man. He's going to bring it to him. That's probably going to be a much, much better competitive fight than what we saw in Maxie Hughes. Why aren't any of these guys rushing to give? Camaron's like number 1, number 2 in almost all these sanctioning bodies, Drew. I hope he gets a crack at somebody.
He may eventually get a crack at somebody, but it depends who who's willing to give him the crack?
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Navarrete, if he does move back down to 130, they're talking about a rematch potentially with Oscar Valdez already. I saw that brewing on social media. And someone that I mentioned earlier, who is the current featherweight champion at 126, I mentioned, what's the Mexican champion? God, I love that guy so much, man. Alvarado Lopez. He said, man, he would love to get it on with Navarrete at 130. And one thing about Alvarado Lopez is he fought at 130. He made his debut at Top Rank at 130 pounds. Unfortunately, beating our local hometown favorite from San Jose, Andy El Tiburon Vences. That was a major upset. And then he went on to destroy Gabe Flores in a savage beating at 130 pounds before moving down to 126. So he totally can fight Navarrete. That would be a good fight as well. Thank you so much, Luis Alberto Lopez. Yeah, exactly. He could potentially move. Oh, shout out to our friend Gail Falkenthal. Make sure you guys follow her at NY Fights. She probably has some great commentary, great stories to tell us about what is going on. Hold on here. I want to highlight Gail's comment because I believe I saw something about Jolene. And Jolene is very excited. I believe she's Norman Jr.'s people too here. Gio Cabrera managers Jolene Mazzoni, former main events matchmaker who put their guy Brian Norman Jr. against Giovanni Santillan. Her eye for talent is unmatched. Yeah, wow. Yeah, I did see that, Gail. Congratulations to Jolene. I believe she even said that she knows Arturo Gotti, and that's someone that she had a close relationship with. Arturo Gotti was smiling up in heaven about that big victory, big shocking upset. Gail, I'm curious if you want to call him. I do believe I have my phone line still open. I'm curious what your thoughts were on what you saw transpire in San Diego. Not the best night for local San Diego fighters. Hold on a second here. Let's see. Terminated calls. I guess I missed the phone line, guys. I just checked the phone line. I do see a couple of numbers. I appreciate it if you guys want to call back. Gail says, Navarrete needs to go back to 130. He looked like hell Saturday. Unfortunately, yeah, he didn't look his best. Drew, do you think he makes any noise at 135, or you think he gets beat up, eventually beat up?
Nah, he eventually gets beat up at 135. I think, and the fucked up part about it is, man, I just don't think he can make 130 anymore. And like when you move up, it means that you normally can't make that weight anymore. And I think if he even kills himself, he's going to kill himself making 130, and he's going to lose Valdez. So I look at it like this. Navarrete's going to have to figure something out. He's going to do a major overhaul with his career and everything in order to somewhat stand a chance at 135. Because if he has no power in this division, he's screwed. Because he doesn't have the boxing IQ. He doesn't have the skill set to compete in this division. I think Navarrete is a name that someone can use as a stepping stone and everything. And that's what I think Navarrete's going to wind up being. He's going to wind up being a gatekeeper in this division. Like, I don't see him being any threat but a gatekeeper.
You know, if he wants to move back to 130, he can get a unification with that Irish fighter, Kasachi. That would actually be a very good scrap. I wouldn't mind seeing the Irishman that just won the IBF title. I'd love to see it. I think he beats Navarrete now. Yeah, let's move on. We'll see what happens with Navarrete. He's got to make a choice, go back and defend the 130 title or stick around 135 and potentially be a punching bag to some of these much younger and faster, naturally stronger lightweight talent. This Wednesday, guys, May 22nd, is not only the day that Ryan Garcia's B sample is being tested, but Pro Box is bringing you another card this week, Wednesday, here on YouTube. You guys can watch it there or on the app. And I think our friend Lukey was calling. Lukey, I wasn't checking the thing, but I was just reading an article by our awesome friend Lucas Cattell on boxingscene.com. Drew, we interviewed Adam Lopez. Adam Lopez was a top-ranked signed contract fighter Adam Lopez is returning to fight. He's had a very rough time, unfortunately, losing. And this credit to Stacy Snyder, the late great Stacy Snyder, friend of In the Ring with Christine. This picture is one of her pictures. Adam Lopez, man, an amazing young kid, a really great fighter who's come up short in some very big opportunities. I met him when he fought Oscar Valdez as a last-minute replacement, and this is the way boxing is. It's rough, man. You lose a couple of big fights, you lose a few fights, Top Rank is going to cut you, and all of a sudden you find yourself this Wednesday on Pro Box fighting for your career because he's fighting a guy that's only got one loss. 16 of his wins are by 16 of 15 knockouts of 16 wins in a fighter named Cardoso. Drew, this is a really step up for Cardoso, but the guy's got almost all knockouts. He's a tremendous, huge puncher. And one thing about Adam Lopez, unfortunately, is because he's been in with the elite, the very most elite, he's been knocked down quite a bit. So I don't know where his punch resistance is at, but Adam Lopez is an awesome kid. And I hope he comes up victorious because a win on Pro Box could rebound his career. We're seeing a lot of people get amazing opportunities out of Pro Box. He might be able to rebound his career and find himself in another big fight. A loss, obviously, would be a huge step back. I think the main event, dude, is let me bring up who's fighting this weekend on that main event because it's a fighter that's had a lot of losses on Wednesday night. This Wednesday, let me bring up this card. Drew, what are your thoughts on Lopez, Adam Pitbull, Blue Nose Lopez coming back to fight on Pro Box?
He's 16-5. He's just basically doing it for a paycheck. And it's not a knock on him, you make money off it. You might as well make money off it, but when it comes to a point like, you're 16-5, I don't know. Maybe it's going to the point, if he loses this one, maybe fighting is not the path for you anymore.
Yeah, I'm laughing because they put Jambalaya versus Ivan Redkach. Ivan Redkach, he's definitely, to me, approaching gatekeeper status, and I can't even pronounce this guy's name, Jukembayev. But obviously, Ivan Redkach finds himself in the exact position, be relegated to gatekeeper, or have an amazing win that puts him back in the conversation, man, against a lot of people. Oh, by the way, it is a holiday weekend here in the U.S., so the other big fight, Drew, is a rematch this weekend, 140-pound rematch between what some people will say is a washed-up Josh Taylor. He's had a lot of injuries. Teofimo Lopez put the beat down on him, put one of the most impressive performances of Teofimo's career is against the lineal 140-pound champ, and Josh Taylor has a chance to redeem himself. And Catterall, who I thought got robbed, bro, he got robbed straight up. He has an opportunity to say, I need a title shot. I need a title shot against Haney. I need to get a title shot against Teofimo. This is a big night for Jack Catterall. But I think this fight is probably going to be not very exciting. But what do you say, Drew?
Yeah, it's not going to be a very exciting fight. I think Catterall is going to win the fight, but it's not going to be a very exciting fight.
Yeah, the first match was, wow, that's when I really started to notice Josh Taylor's on the decline. This is not the Josh Taylor that was the was he undisputed? He was undisputed for a minute.
Yeah, he was.
He was undisputed for a quick minute. Drew's going to step off. Obviously, this fight takes place May 25th in the UK. It's a holiday weekend here in the US. If you're looking for some boxing action, I highly recommend you watch Pro Box this Wednesday. It's interactive. The chat is fun. I love watching it. And then, of course, Saturday, you can tune in on DAZN. They've got a small card. And then you've got this one here, Catterall, 28-1. Somebody, I think, who outboxed Taylor in his first fight. Taylor, ironically, is 19-1. He should be 18-2 because I think he lost that first Catterall fight. But for Catterall, it means the world to him because a win over Josh Taylor puts him in the conversation to be, amongst Devin Haney, amongst the other 140-pound champions that I just mentioned. And he's a boxer. He's a very good boxer. This is a guy that I think, like Sandor Martin, could play spoiler to a lot of people. Let's see here. Gail had put a comment here. Drew is correct about Taylor Catterall too. I'm assuming that she's saying that it's potentially could be a snoozer. In that first fight, guys, not Catterall, but Taylor was coming off he suffered a torn plantar fascia. That hurts like crazy. Anything there or tearing the Achilles tendon is a very serious injury. So we got to ask ourselves, we already saw perhaps the best of Josh Taylor. He talked about that this was the wrong weight class for a very long time. He's 33 years old. He talked about moving up to welterweight. And for a while, people thought, when he was undisputed for a brief moment, that he would be a real threat at welterweight. But I don't even know if he, moving up to 147, has the strength to contend against some of these people like we just saw. Norman Jr., Boots Ennis. I think he'd get straight knocked out by these kind of fighters. But he still has a big name. And actually, somebody like Ryan Garcia could seize an opportunity to fight a former undisputed champion and put a name like that on his resume. Josh Taylor is really good behind the mic. I would highly recommend that if he does come away victorious from this, maybe he needs to start looking at a big payday, one of those career-defining paydays that you can write off into the sunset and retire, because I don't think it gets much better from here on for the former undisputed champion, Josh Taylor. And we saw that recently too against with Regis Prograis, who was probably the best fight of his career, a narrow win over Regis Prograis. That probably the best of Regis Prograis. Those days are past us as well. So that is my prediction for this fight as well, is that Catterall is victorious this Saturday, and he's going to be in the conversation. Drew, you already mentioned Catterall wins.
Yeah, I said Catterall wins. I think Josh Taylor's lost.
Yeah, shout out to Adi Mehdi. He's been great in the chat. They've mentioned that the zone card is a Canadian card. I don't know if you live in Canada, but that does look like a very solid card on DAZN if you have that app. Thank you so much, Gail. I totally forgot. Christian and Billy is fighting this weekend on ESPN. Wow. No, I love me some Christian and Billy. And Drew, let's bring this up really quickly as we round up this show. There's some major news for Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, he's being ordered by, the IBF? I brought it up last week, being mandated to fight and begin negotiations for a purse against, in my opinion, this is the worst mandatory he could have, because I even rate Edgar Berlanga as a better mandatory. But Christian and Billy is just a fight or two away from also potentially being in the position to fight Canelo Alvarez. And I think, like Gail mentioned, he's one of the most exciting ones.
Here's the thing. I don't think you can have a pay-per-view with William Scar. I don't think you have a pay-per-view with Evan Berlanga. Neither fight will sell. Neither one deserves a shot. And if this was a pay-per-view, it would be bad. It would be really bad. It would be a mistake. This has to be treated as a Eardrum fight. So,
yeah, and the reason why I got excited about that she mentioned Christian and Billy, because of all the people left at 168, guys, and remember, David Benavidez is moving up to 175. He's no longer a mandatory by the WBC. The current mandatory now is who for him from the WBC? Shit. Are they going to mandate that one? The big news is that Diego Pacheco, who is a sparring partner and a gym mate of David Benavidez, and I had his picture here, but that's what I'm reading today, guys. And thank you so much, Addy, for mentioning that Diego Pacheco is now a mandatory, and they're going to order that too. So, it looks like Canelo Alvarez is he's going to be forced to fight guys with no names. Edgar Berlanga barely has a name. He's popular on social media, but he's losing out on fighting the really hard fights, in my opinion. With the other David Morrell moving up to 175 as well. he's got nothing but young fighters now to defend his titles
He's
against.
He's gonna have to move up. Like, what else? Like, if you're gonna look at the biggest names at 175 now, if he's gonna make pay-per-view fights, he's gotta go up to 175 and make these fights. A rematch of Demetrius Bivol, but I think Demetrius Bivol wants a 168 title shot, and I think that.
And his coach,
really
by the way, his coach repeatedly says, shout out to his coach. They train out of Coachella. His coach says he can make 168, no problem, Drew. And I agree with you. That rematch would be epic. Gail brings up a very, very good point because all these fighters, Drew, like I think Diego Pacheco's a future star. I think Christian Mbilli's a future star, but they don't have that household name recognition. And I'm glad Christian Mbilli is fighting this weekend on ESPN. Hopefully we'll get some eyeballs on him. As far as like that guy Scully, that's the least person I would be mandating Canelo Alvarez to fight. I'd prefer to see Berlanga in September in Las Vegas over any of those people, including Diego Pacheco. I don't think Diego's anywhere near ready for Canelo Alvarez.
I look at it like this. I think Pacheco beats Berlanga.
Oh yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Jaime Munguia fight any of those guys. Jaime Munguia versus Mbilli, Jaime Munguia versus Berlanga, That's what I want. I want to see those guys put on a show. And then maybe one of those guys that comes out victorious can make a statement and say, hey, I'm ready to fight Canelo. But as it stands still.
I look at it.
Go ahead.
I look at it like this. Amazon is going to tell PBC, yo, I'm not having a pay-per-view fight with Berlanga or this William Squaw guy. He's got to defend the mandatory. He's got to do a mandatory. You can have an Amazon card on there for free with no pay-per-view because these are not pay-per-view fights. These are not going to sell. So you can treat them as mandatories. A your dream fight. If he's going to fight them, it's not going to be pay-per-view. And if he said they got to be pay-per-view, then you better move up to 175 and fight David Benavidez or David Morrell or get a rematch with Demetrius Bivol. Because tell you the truth, you ain't getting many more big fights. There's not really a lot more he can do.
Right. I'll highlight this one last comment here from Gail. It says, Canelo doesn't need the belts. The sanctioning bodies need Canelo more than he needs them. He can drop all the belts and keep the lineal ring title and still sell tickets and pay-per-views, no problems. And, that might be where he's at, Drew. We've seen Canelo drop belts. He doesn't need to keep defending the undisputed moniker and fighting guys that don't bring anything to the table for him and his legacy, specifically like that Scully fighter or maybe someone that's way too green in Diego Pacheco. What credit would he get, even despite Diego Pacheco being 6'2", 6'3"? He ain't going to get no credit because we've all seen Canelo beat up tall guys already. They're just going to say you beat up a very young prospect / contender.
I think he just needs to cut his losses, just move up and just take his luck up to 175. There's really nothing else he can do at 168. Like, why are you holding those belts? Like, even a little belt, why would you hold it for and everything? Because you still are going to have to fight super middleweights to defend that little belt. It just, like, there's no names in this division anymore. Move up. The best fights at 175. Move up, and you're gonna have to eventually. You're gonna have to fight Benavidez. You're gonna have to fight Morrell. You're gonna have to fight. You're gonna have to probably get a rematch with Bivol and everything. And the 60-pound question, 8 title question is out.
Drew, I think the Saudis offered him $100 million. They want to see him fight Terrence Crawford in December. I don't know why. It's a super fight. He said no to that, right?
He said, I get no credit for beating him.
He said no amount of money this week, Canelo, I'm paraphrasing, no amount of money will be worthwhile. As Drew pointed out, he said he's not going to get any credit for fighting Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford can make this fight happen for himself. He needs to become a unified champion at 154, and then he needs to, by next year, He needs to somehow become a middleweight champion. That means fighting Janibek. Then all of a sudden we can talk about Canelo versus Crawford.
But here's the issue at this point that I'm looking at. It's not going to be a pay-per-view fight, Berlanga. Amazon is not going to risk a pay-per-view on a Berlanga. When they already know it's not going to sell. Because here's the thing, when your own people don't think you have a chance in hell against the undisputed super middleweight champion, why would they buy a pay-per-view knowing you're just gonna get knocked out in less than 5 rounds?
Does anyone remember if Yildirim, who was Canelo's mandatory, was that a free fight on DAZN? But usually September and May.
It was a free fight.
All right, May and September is usually, it's pay-per-view season. Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day, you have to sell a pay-per-view. And it has to be an opponent that fans, Mexican fans, international fans, are going to be excited about it. Drew, you're right. He's got an uphill battle in selling a Berlanga fight to us, especially one that's going to cost people potentially $79.99. As it stands right now, I have no idea what Canelo's going to do. I thought he would fight Berlanga, but it is an uphill battle to sell that as a pay-per-view.
Here's the thing, Dave. If he fights Berlanga on pay-per-view, the fight doesn't even do
300,000
bucks.
Come wow, Drew with the low pay-per-views again.
It does below 100. It does below 200,000 buys because nobody wants to see it. Nobody's going to pay to see that fight. You want to know how much money the PBC is going to lose and Amazon's going to lose on that shit? No, it's not worth it. If you're gonna fight them, you tell the WBA or you tell the IBF, hey, this is what we're gonna do. You let me fight a guy I want to fight in September, I'll fight that mandatory in December. And you don't have the mandatory on pay-per-view. And I look at it, and you look at it like this, he's got to fight. This is who he's got to fight in September. He's going to have to fight Benavidez, Morel, Beaver, because Benavidez out for a year at least. They're the 3 people he's got to fight. They're the only 3 people left he has to fight. They're the biggest fights left for him are those 3 guys. He doesn't fight none of them, just fucking retire. Because tell you the truth, nobody gives a fuck about you fighting Berlanga. Nobody gives a fuck about you fighting Pachenko. Nobody even cares about you fighting Billy.
I think you called him Pachenko. I think you called Diego Pachenko right now, Drew. That would be a new one. But Diego Pachenko is Mexican Ukrainian.
But here's the thing. These 3 fights are all 3 fights he could potentially lose. Does he beat Benavidez? I think he beats Benavidez. Does he beat Beaver? 10 times out of 10, he doesn't beat Beaver. Beaver is just too big, too boxing IQ is level as above, and fucking boxing skill is all there. And Canelo couldn't compete with it in that fight. And David Morrell will beat Canelo right now. David Morrell is better than David Benavidez. David Morrell stops David Benavidez. Let's just put it there right now. David Morrell has that good style that could cause Canelo a lot of issues. Because Canelo has been for the wars.
Yeah, he hasn't been in with a heavy-handed power puncher like you said, Bivol.
Beats Bivol.
Yeah,
Bivol is too good. Bivol is the best light heavyweight in this division. I think if you look at it like this, if you look at it like this, there is so much more for Canelo to do to fight these. You have to fight these 3 guys. One of these 3 guys has to be your September opponent.
Well, I hope Beterbiev heals from that major injury. Everybody wants to see that unification. They say it's going to happen eventually between Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. And I'm sure that Canelo wants to fight the winner of that, especially if it's Beterbiev. If it's Beterbiev and he's 40 years old, and we just saw Kovalev. By the way, guys, did you watch Kovalev this weekend? Pretty much have his career ended with seconds left. Shockingly, Sergey Kovalev gets knocked out with seconds left. That's the end of that guy's career. He was already knocked out brutally by Canelo over 5 years ago. Not sure why he was still fighting.
And it's like this. I'm going to say one thing. Canelo can do what people are saying Canelo can do whatever he wants. Yeah, he probably could do whatever he wants. But here's the thing. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Does that mean whatever he does, he's going to make a hell of a lot of money? He's going to do a lot of numbers with it? No. People are not going to watch him, are not going to pay the $90 to watch him fight Evan Berlanga or William Score or Christian Billy.
How about Canelo shocks it next week and announces that he's fighting Jai Opetaia? Now that's a real cruiserweight champion.
Opetaia will whoop his ass.
That's a real
fucking ass.
Wow, that's a serious challenge, Drew. It's been a great show. I want to remind everybody, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, we would be greatly appreciated. Drew and I are doing vertical streams. We know it doesn't look pretty. Maybe you watch this on your televisions. I prefer watching horizontal. We appreciate you. We appreciate you hanging out with us and watching us. Consider giving us a subscription. Hit that like button and dropping us a comment after the show. We would really appreciate the engagement. It's been great. Thank you to everybody that's chatted with us tonight. I wanted to end the show, Drew, on this note because, Drew, I'm actually right now studying for my real estate license in Las Vegas. I now live here. You guys know I'm from the Bay. But I want to get back to selling homes now that I'm in my 40s. It's something that I did when I was a young kid in California, and I hope to do it now. And if I had my license and you really wanted to see it, this house just came on the market in Las Vegas. It's all everybody's talking about. It's all the big news. But Drew, Oscar De La Hoya and Holly have listed their $20 million. Well, originally purchased for just $15 million. They just moved into it months ago. In fact, they invited select people of the media to come tour their brand new mansion. It says they bought it 2 years ago, but honestly, I don't know. They just moved into it 3 months ago, in my opinion. Drew, here's a picture of it. It sits at the top of the beautiful hills in Henderson, Nevada, just 15 minutes from my house or so. A Blue Heron, which is one of the nicest custom home builders here in Las Vegas. Blue Heron, modern masterpiece, Drew, all for just $20 million. And by the way, he just paid $15 million for it. Now, how do you feel about a guy trying to make a $5 million profit after living in the house for just 3 months? And Drew, in real estate, everything is negotiable. Everything's negotiable. If you want this, I'm sure you can ask Oscar for whatever asking price, put it in the offer. I'd like to keep Oscar's ring and memorabilia because this is his man cave. Shout out to Oscar for having the coolest man cave right there. The Oscar De La Hoya man cave right there. That could be yours. You could write that into that $20 million offer. I could be your agent someday.
And the one thing this dude thinks about is where the high coke at. Jesus Christ.
If you've got a listen, hey, Addie's got a point. If you've got a mansion that nice, a lot of people have custom, what they call custom, I don't know what custom hiding places. Yeah, there's going to probably be some of that. Pretty cool. So that's all I got for the Shoe Shine tonight. Drew, it was a great episode. If you want to put and post your pound for pound list on our community page, that would be cool. Appreciate everybody again joining us. We'll be back, I think, Thursday evening, Drew.
We could try and do that.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I'm Dave in the 702, Philly Irish Drew Evo. Until then, we will see you later. Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. Peace out, everybody.